Traitor Paul Ryan wakes to devastating news after blocking Obamacare repeal and screwing Trump. It's no secret that while individual elections are important for different reasons, the holy grail to each of the political parties is holding the majority in both the House of Representatives and Senate, as well as having someone from their party in the presidency. This means that the party has a much greater chance of pushing through legislation that is important to their constituency. After winning that majority in both houses of Congress in the last election, Republicans had high hopes for what the coming years would hold for the causes important to us. Unfortunately, the misstep may have come with who House Republicans chose to be their Speaker. This is a position that comes with great power, responsibility and of course opportunity to mess things up. Paul Ryan has been falling further and further from grace as his true colors have come to the surface. As it turns out, his real loyalties may not be as conservative as we all trusted him to be. His role in keeping the Obamacare repeal from taking place has Americans livid. This being one of the most important issues that Republicans wanted dealt with by lawmakers, its failure is having a terrible backlash in his poll numbers. Via Breitbart News. House Speaker Paul Ryan's failure to deliver on President Donald Trump's agenda has sent his approval rating into a tailspin as nearly a majority of Americans disapprove of his job performance, a new Bloomberg national poll shows. A whopping 48%, nearly a majority, view Ryan in a negative light, while just 36% view him in a positive light in the Bloomberg poll released Tuesday. The poll was conducted from July 8 to July 12 and represents a near-mirror flip from Ryan's standing back in December when 47% looked at him positively and 31% viewed him negatively. It would be hard to find a Republican who has suffered more than House Speaker Paul Ryan as Congress and President Donald Trump have struggled to turn GOP promises into reality, Bloomberg's Anna Edgerton and John McCormick wrote on Tuesday, adding, "More people now view the House Speaker in a negative light rather than a positive one, 48% to 34%, according to a Bloomberg national poll, conducted July 8 to 12. In December, 31% held a negative view, while 47% looked at him favorably. It's a dramatic turn for one of the Republican Party's biggest stars and its 2012 vice presidential nominee. The approval rating decline for Ryan is the largest among GOP leaders measured by the Bloomberg survey, and exceeds the drop in approval for the party, Congress, and Trump. Pollster Jay Anselzer, who conducted the survey, said this is a remarkable drop-off for Ryan. Threatening someone with bad poll numbers may not seem like that big of a deal to you and I. Most of us probably keep or lose our jobs based on actual merit and production. For a United States representative, their track record should be the greatest thing that gives them job security, but in reality, that track record is only part of what molds public opinion. Paul Ryan could pull his act together tomorrow and do everything that conservatives have ever dreamed that a representative would do, and he still might not be able to salvage his reputation from the damage done by the events of recent weeks. When people get an impression of someone, it's difficult to remove it. In this case, the reputation that he's gaining seems to be well-deserved, considering the lack of support he has been to the Republican cause. More from the Bloomberg poll. It's unusual to see this big a flip, especially for a guy who is somewhat behind the scenes, said pollster Jay Anselzer, who oversaw the survey. But he's in charge of Congress and Congress is not delivering. Congress has struggled to pass major legislation long promised by GOP leaders, including a replacement of the Affordable Care Act, known as Obamacare, as Republican lawmakers haven't been able to agree about what it should look like or how to proceed. Greg Bellamy, a 48-year-old pharmacist who lives in a suburb of Nashville, said Ryan hasn't pushed hard enough to repeal Obamacare and get the government out of healthcare. They are trying to repeal and replace, said Bellamy, who voted for Trump and is an independent voter who leans Republican. They need to repeal and stay the heck out of it. Ryan, 47, of Wisconsin, started the year promising a quick repeal of Obamacare to kick off an era of conservative victories with Trump in the White House and Congress under Republican control. Yet now, after he won House approval for his unpopular replacement by promising reluctant Republicans that the Senate would fix it. The upper chamber has abandoned its version of the legislation because it didn't gain enough support. If the healthcare bill fails, it will make another Republican priority, a tax overhaul promised by Trump and Ryan, even harder, the House Speaker often says. Relatively small advances are lost on the GOP faithful who have for years been hearing promises to dismantle Obamacare and lower taxes, according to Doug High, a consultant who worked in the U.S. House for former Republican Majority Leader Eric Cantor. Among those Republican voters who are disappointed so far, and are mostly pointing fingers at Congress and not Trump, they're going to want to see some points on the board, High said. If you're a conservative primary voter, really good smart legislation that they've passed this year isn't what they're looking for. They're looking for repeal and replace, and they want a tax cut. Republicans are disappointed, and rightly so. Lawmakers are sent to Washington to enact our will as American voters, not their own. There are emissaries, and when those emissaries act like that power is theirs to do with what they will, it's time to find a replacement that will respect the job and do it correctly. Share if you're ready to hold our lawmakers accountable. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe Breaking News 365 channel. Goodbye and see you again.